Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Crime Circus. Mackenzie Shirilla is no killer. As seen in this crime scene photograph, you can see her big oversized slipper is stuck between the floor mat and the gas pedal.
Oh my god.
And what do you know, Toyota actually had a multi-billion-dollar recall and many lawsuits over this exact situation. She did not do it, she's on appeal, her family loves her, and the support group is growing. Seriously, it's time to release her immediately.
Mackenzie Shirilla, a case of a wrongful conviction. Part 6. Corpse makeup. And clarifications and assumptions made during the trial. Corpse makeup. Why did Mackenzie and her friends dress up like corpses, or was this a misinterpretation of the makeup? In the months that followed the crash, Mackenzie began to adjust to life without Dominic or Davion. Encouraged by friends that life does go on after tragic events, they encouraged her by asking her to participate in normal calendar events, such as Halloween. Mackenzie and her friends posted photos and videos of themselves dressed up as corpses on or around Halloween. But, was it really corpse makeup they were wearing? Were they intentionally trying to look like dead people, or is there a more reasonable explanation? Some were disturbed by this because of the loss of Dominic and Davion. However, since that time it has been revealed that this wasn't corpse makeup at all, but once again, a tribute to Dominic. As already previously discussed in Part 5, Dominic was involved in the music scene and making music. He even released songs and created a musical persona and went by the name of Odimeboy. One of those songs Dominic made was called Drank and Zaza, which Mackenzie and her friends were later seen dancing to, which was previously mentioned in Part 5. One of Dominic's favorite artists is a musician/rapper by the name of Playboi Carti. It is well known in the music industry that fans of the rock band Kiss, and the hip-hop duo, Insane Clown Posse, dress up and put on makeup. Kiss fans are typically known as Kiss Army, and many dress like members of the band. Fans have been known to dress up like Paul Stanley, the Star Child, Gene Simmons, the Demon, Peter Criss, the Catman, Eric Carr, the Fox, Ace Frehley, the Spaceman, or Vinnie Vincent, the Ink Warrior. Insane Clown Posse fans are typically known as Juggalos, and just like Kiss fans, they too paint themselves up like members of the group. So, what does Kiss and Insane Clown Posse have to do with one of Dominic's favorite artists, Playboi Carti? The reason is very simple, he too dressed and painted himself up on stage. Below is Playboi Carti on stage. Notice the makeup. When we look at the photos of Playboi Carti, it becomes quite clear that Mackenzie and her friends were not dressing up as corpses, as some believe, but dressing up because they were fans of Playboi Carti. Comparing the makeup worn by Mackenzie and her friends to the makeup worn by Playboi Carti and other Carti fans leaves zero room for doubt. It was not corpse makeup at all. But mentioning it in this fashion was just another attempt to portray Mackenzie in a bad light. When we look at this, we cannot forget the timing. To say that Mackenzie was being disrespectful towards Dominic and Davion when in the same time frame millions of people in every major city were celebrating the Spanish holiday, Dia de los Muertos, also known as Day of the Dead. A common practice in celebrating this holiday, people either don masks or wear makeup that could also be considered corpse-like. Clarifications and assumptions made during the trial. During the trial, the prosecution made several assumptions regarding this case. One assumption is the route traveled that morning. The assumption was made that after the party at Paul Burlinghouse residence that Mackenzie, Dominic, and Davion would return to Dominic's residence located at or near 2120 Lunn Road. Detective Hazu was asked about his investigation and the driving directions from Paul's residence to Dominic's residence. He stated that the route taken on the morning of the crash was, in his opinion, an obscure route. However, that is only if they were going to the 2120 Lund Road area. However, what if that wasn't the destination at all, but Mackenzie, Dominic, and Davion were going to Mark's location on Westwood Drive? As already presented in Part 2, according to Kelly Vraja in her interview with Detective Hazu, she stated that she overheard Mackenzie and Dominic discussing visiting Mark, who lived at or near 22628 Westwood Drive. If we were to plot a turn-by-turn direction from Paul's residence to Mark's residence, the route becomes very obvious. On the next page is a map from Google Maps from 9382 Brushwood Lane to 22628 Westwood Drive. The route that is shown is the exact route Mackenzie drove that morning. Remember, the crash occurred just a few yards from the Progress Drive and Alameda Drive intersection. The problem for Mackenzie is due to ineffective counsel. Mackenzie's attorney never brought this up in trial, but he should have, as it provides additional reasonable doubt. During her testimony, Dr. Sang stated that medical staff was notified by Mackenzie's parents that she had postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. Just like the police, the hospital never did anything with this information except making a note in Mackenzie's chart. The hospital did not consult with a neurologist or cardiologist. The reason given is because Mackenzie did not display signs of a seizure in their presence. However, according to medical documentation, Mackenzie was given an intravenous, also called IV, fluids in the ambulance prior to medical transport by helicopter. By introducing IV fluids, it began to help Mackenzie with stabilizing her metabolism. We must remember, the paramedic recorded Mackenzie had a blood oxygen level of 82%, which is life-threatening in a patient who has this level is, or recently was, in either cardiac and/or respiratory distress. Just because Mackenzie did not display signs of having a seizure at the hospital doesn't mean Mackenzie did not have one while driving, which truly caused the crash. There are a number of reasons to support this. 1. The delay in emergency medical personnel arriving on scene after the crash. 2. The delay in removing Mackenzie so paramedics could perform their duties to provide medical aid. 3. The introduction of intravenous fluids while on scene at the crash site to help stabilize Mackenzie and to facilitate introduction of medications if necessary. 4. Delayed transport to the hospital. Remember, while it is acceptable to testify as to what was recorded in Mackenzie's chart, this was in a hospital. The real question was, what was Mackenzie's medical condition at the time of the crash? That is impossible for any doctor to provide any reasonable guess. Any medical professional will tell you that patients' medical conditions can and do change, sometimes very rapidly. This has been documented in real-life documentaries like TLC's show, Trauma Life in the ER, and on realistic, but fictional television dramas like ER and Chicago Hope. Medical conditions can change for the better, such as in the case of Mackenzie, to worse. How many times have the words, "Code Blue," been said in television or movies? So much so that the phrase, "Code Blue," is synonymous with medical emergency. Final thoughts. Perhaps it was assumed that all documentation and evidence that was collected by police would have been provided automatically to the court and to the defense as evidence. However, that is not so. Instead, the prosecutor was able to nitpick the evidence to support his case and ignore the parts that did not. Unfortunately, this is something that happens all the time, but it should not be allowed. All evidence seized, regardless of what side it would benefit, should be automatically entered into evidence, not just small parts. This concludes Part 6.